One and all. Our next resource person are Dr. Vaidai Daptardar Madam. She is a principal at Adarsh College of Arts and Commerce, Badlapur. She is also a well-known academician. She has been an experience of 37 years of academic and administrative work. She is a recognized guide for MPhil and PhD. Under her guidance, 3 students are awarded by PhD and 3 by MPhil. She was the member of Academic Council of University of Mumbai. She has been convener and member of numerous Mumbai University committees. She is the founder director of Somaiya Gandhian Study Center. She has been honored as the keynote speaker, resource person, and chairperson of the sessions at national and international seminars, conferences, and workshops organized by different institutions. She was the main speaker at Athens, Greece for 25th International Philosophical Organizations Conference in 2016. She has authored more than 12 books on various themes. She has completed 3 minor research projects, presented and published more than 80 research papers. So, we have with us the most versatile and dynamic speaker today. Without further delay, may I invite Dr. Vaidai Daptardar Madam to deliver her talk on comparative advantages of COVID to India. Over to you, Madam.
Good afternoon, everybody. Honorable Principal of this college, S.K. Patil College, Sindhudurga District, Malwad. Dr. Mandle, our close friend. Dr. Sumedha Naik, my student as well as my great colleague. And all the functionaries for this particular webinar and all dear participants. It has been so nice to be connected with you all, though virtually, yet whenever there is a question of exchange of opinions, views, and discussion and deliberations, it is always a joyful journey. And that is how I accepted this particular invitation, and I am with you. Thank you very much, Khobresa, for giving such a elaborate, such a type of introduction, which definitely pleases everyone. But let's see what I am able to speak to, whether I am able to rise to the expectations of the people as such. Yeah. From morning, 3 people have talked, the great learned people who have been giving their opinions. I thought though aviation industry is not working, we had with automobile industry's discussion, the journey and the travel tour around the world in just 60 minutes. That was my experience because I could literally go to different parts of the world and see, yes, how the work is being going on. Friends, we are all having the pandemic here to stay with us. I think we need to make me enable share screening of the share screening enable.
Yes, sir, madam.
Yeah.
Mr.
So
Mayekar is making you co-host so that you can share the screen.
Yeah. So meantime, I'm just talking. See, friends, we
yes,
are all talking
now,
about.
Madam.
Yeah, we are all talking about the crisis, and that is because of the pandemic of COVID-19, that is Corona and all that. Lot has been said about it, the different types of statistics at the India level, at the international level, at the state level, and whatnot. So I think I did not focus on that. But if at all we are talking about the crisis, we must understand how do we go about the managing for and managing in crisis. I would like to start with 4 R's. Managing crisis requires that we should have resilience. And how do we get the resilience? Resilience we can acquire only when we are ready to adapt to the situation. We are ready to build our capacity and capability so that whatever we practice during this particular crisis becomes a perfect practice for us to lead to a better period so that we are in a position to, lead. The second R is we need to reform for survival. Now, reforming for survival means what? What we have been doing, that is not going to work during this crisis period. And therefore, we shouldn't become panicked. Instead, we embrace that change and try to live with it so that we follow a be positive approach. The earlier speaker, as he said, yes, his attitude has been positive attitude. I too support that, and my group is also the same one. Sometimes people say in Marathi, glass ardha bharla hai, pela ardha bharla hai ka ardha rikama hai. Why to think about bharla hai ki sarla hai? Why not we think that we have at least a glass in our hand? I think that's the very, very positive type of thinking one should have. Then comes a revival. If we think like that and play like a champion with a very focused strategy, internalizing and integrating our systems with certain focused areas, I think revival becomes easier. And when revival becomes easier, I fully believe in this, that reshaping becomes possible for us, because nothing is impossible, as Dr. Jadhav has very correctly said as such. So, future proofing is possible by choice, by selective use of certain type of strategy, by systematizing the design of it, so that we come out with our, just as in marketing they say, unique selling proposal, we would say by giving unique buying point or the proposal to the people. Let's see if India is going to have a comparative advantage, which is my basic hypothesis, in the post-COVID-19, how we can do it. Again, I would say, if we can inspire ourselves, therefore get ready for innovative ideas and instill the confidence among ourselves, I am sure we would be able to face this crisis to come out very successfully to gain that comparative advantage at the world level. Yes, there have been opinions. We will always find when there are 6 economists, there are 7 opinions. And pinde matir bhirna, there would be differences of opinion. But still then, I would say that whether lives are important or the living, survival, that is important. Even Narayan Murthy went to such an extent to say that if lockdown continues, which was the part which was discussed by Dr. Kamble in his earlier this thing, lockdown is continued, then we will have the problems of hunger days more than that. But let me tell you, Edelman Trust Barometer, which was a global poll conducted, which categorically said that 67% voted for life, only 33% people voted for survival. And as our Prime Minister said, Jaan hai to jahan hai. I think we need to think in terms of survival first, lives first rather than survival. So, unless we look back and study our history, I suppose we are not in a position to have our future shape, because peeping into the past, we learn the lessons, and having learned the lessons, we plan in a better manner for the future. So let's talk about 1990 to 2020. As we all know, new economic policy was started in 1990, which is nothing but the liberalization, privatization, and globalization. 3 decades have already passed. And in these 3 decades, what have we achieved? Hundreds of things. Just to enlist a few, we are the 6th largest economy in the world by nominal GDP. Let's not consider February to May period, which is Corona crisis period. But we cannot negate the earlier achievement. We were the 3rd largest economy by purchasing power parity. Yes, we are the 3rd largest importer of crude oil and coal as well. We are having the 2nd largest road network only after US. 124th Human Development Index rank we are enjoying, way back when we were 136, 41 and all that. We are having the 7th largest service sector in the world. I suppose the Dean Saab is going to talk about the service sector opportunities following this particular session. Besides that, ours is the 6th largest economy in GDP, which we have achieved in just 1 year's time, keeping aside even France. 77th position in World Bank's Ease of Doing Business 2019, that is our prestigious position. The Global Competitiveness Index 2018 talks India's rank is 58th out of 140. The Logistic Performance Index is 44 out of 67 countries. India's e-payment rank, which was 36th in 2011, now we are enjoying 28th position. And India's rank in New York-based Bloomberg Innovation Index is 54 in the very entry year. All these things, don't we feel and proud that India definitely owns a success story and has got to its credit lot many things that we have achieved. And how? Let us talk about all these achievements against the background of East Asian crisis in 1997. What happened? Tarapore committee had given us the full green signal to go in for CAC, that is capital account convertibility. But Reserve Bank of India, the government of India followed. I'm not talking about any particular political ideology. It is my India. It is my government. So government took a very cautious approach, wait and watch, and they went ahead and did not introduce CSA despite getting a positive report. And India could save itself from all that devastating results. What East Asian countries had, as to their credit, were 30% growth rate and every sector booming like anything. But suddenly with CSE and with problems of Malaysia's buck, the whole Asian countries went into crisis. India did not suffer much. Talk about 2006. Yes, everybody at the world, all the economists were talking about decoupling. We are into the globalized world. And therefore, every country is naturally going to have its impact, and there would be such a collapsible, or what you can say, cascading effect so far as fall is considered. But again, here our banking sector was well insulated, and therefore India did not find that much adverse effect as it was seen in case of many of the countries. That's all because of very cautious and what we can say insulated approach of our country as such. Now, on this particular background, when we look at Corona, then do we not find that the country, our country, has shown resilience to face the pandemic far better than world's #1 superpower US even? What is the state of affairs of US? What is the state of affairs of all European countries? Take the case of Italy. EU especially, everywhere we are finding they are just struggling to survive themselves. Forget about growth. We are talking about GDP growth rate and all that. Only when the people would be there to work and the industry will start running, then we may think of this. But basic survival question is also not there. Lives are not there. Then where the question of industries come? If they are passing through such a bad phase as such, I think then, just a minute. Sorry. No. I'm in seminar, please. Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. The thing is, when all these countries are passing through such a type of bad phase, India to that extent, yes, GDP growth rate, yes, it has been worst affected. We are not moving at all on any economic activity. In fact, the whole world's corridor of activities has been totally closed. There has been absolutely no exchange at all of whatsoever time. Then what to think of India? But yet we have been able to survive in a better position despite having not such an elaborate system of infrastructure of health as such. In fact, we came out with solutions for help for number of countries as such. All this shows that, yes, India is thinking in terms of showing its resilience to the situation. Why we are taking pride for all these things? Because in the last 7 to 10 years, since global economic crisis and East Asian crisis, we have found that the coupled system international framework at the world level, WTO and IMF, their failures have been widely discussed and clear. In fact, those who were in favor of WTO and IMF, they themselves are openly talking about Washington consensus. They are talking about unemployment. On the streets, there have been agitations, dehumanizing capitalist values. All these things have been experienced by every person, every citizen of the world, and therefore it's widely clear that there has been non-resolution of world trade issues so far, despite having WTO as such. And global imbalances have been responsible for financial instability. In fact, nowadays we are talking about, is it that we need, like 1944, some different type of conference to come out with new international financial architecture where a new central bank at the world level would be able to take over? Why these discussions should be started? It's because it's apparent and it's very clear that the WTO, World Trade Organization and IMF, their failures have been widely clear. Now, on this particular background, my proposition is that the world is now going to move away from globalization to rather regionalization. Let's see whether we will be in a position to take advantage of this. Now, why regionalization? I will come back to that particular point. How India will have advantages of this? First and foremost, we should take pride in saying that we are the youngest country in the world. And we have the soft labor availability, and we can surely get the dividend of our population, which is the youngest one. More than 45% people, 65% people would be up to 35. We have capacity to build up our SMEs, micro, small, medium industries as such. They are, in fact, if I say that the backbone these days, because industrial manufacturing activities since 2013 did not pick up much. But then if we can scale up our industrial investment in MSMEs, then the exports which are more than 35 to 40%, they can surely pick up, and especially in the post-corona period, we will have better advantages in terms of that. The third and important point to India's credit is, India can change its direction and composition of trade. How we will see that? Only when we are able to change the structure of our production level. And yes, investments, we will have to be very cautious, and we have to follow a very selective investment policy. Very recently, Government of India came out with the policy that Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Commerce and Industry will scrutinize the investment proposals of the countries, especially with which India is sharing its borders. Now, why? This type of choosy policy, that's very, very important, and we have to be very cautious with our neighbors as such. So on these 4 grounds, India has benefits. How will India have the advantage to be taken? Yes. 2 important developments at the world level. India can take advantage of it because China and US, the rift has been going on since 2017. In fact, if you people remember, and I'm sure everybody knows about it, in Obama's period, US was to become the member of Trans-Pacific Pact of 11-12 countries. US dropped, and it is now of 11 countries only. China was never allowed to enter into that, and China had a lot of dissatisfaction to that extent. This is point number one. Now, whether India can have advantage, can reap advantage of it, that needs to be seen. Many European countries which themselves are having problems inside Brexit, we have experienced, and that obvious reasons are going to be reflected into their broken political and economic relations. Now, even European countries are also blaming China for, we don't know exactly whether it is biological war also, but yes, everybody is blaming China. So the relations are not going to be so smooth and not to be taken so easily. The influence of India in number of regional blocs such as ASEAN, BRICS will definitely find increase. Yes, so far as that Trans-Pacific Pact is considered, India is not a member because India will not be in a position to comply with their conditions of corruption and tariff and whatnot, so many things. Yes, India is also not a member of ASEAN, but yes, if tomorrow India in the long term becomes the member of TPP, and if India can increase its weight in BRICS, I'm sure with 4 members of ASEAN in TPP and India having its regional comprehensive economic partnership entry with 6 with 10 countries from ASEAN, and SIA gets integrated sooner or later with all these different groups. That is something very interesting. And if that happens, I'm sure the country will be in a position to get advantage as such. It is said that if post-21, India can get the GDP growth rate of 4%, or what we generally call it as R minus D, that is nominal growth rate of GDP, minus the cost of capital, which is -1, then definitely we will find ourselves on a certain growth rate. The question is 2008, that all depends upon what becomes the new normal, whether it becomes V, whether it becomes W, or whether it becomes the waves of V's and W's as such, because everything is uncertain. No one is in a position to talk about it so certainly, because there are many ifs, and not just for India, for almost 33 countries for last so many years has been downgraded. India is not an exception. But yet, one cautionary word, all these indicators, that is the ratings, are based on lagging indicators. They are not leading indicators. Now, what is the difference between leading indicator and lagging indicator? Leading indicator is one which is pro one. Lagging indicator is one is where it would be talking about the preventive measures as such. Lagging indicator will talk about how many deaths and lives lost and all that. But the leading indicator will talk about people should not become ill at all. So what needs to be done? So it will suggest which are infrastructure and investment being led. All these standards, Moody's and the international indicators are the lagging indicators, and therefore they hardly are in a position to measure the change. Therefore, we have been downgraded much as such. Now, US China trade war, as I was talking to you, Trump has taken over. This has been going on. I could have added in 19 and 20 after this August, September 19, once Corona entered. But I thought, let me not bring the Corona issue into the trade war. But it was still, whether it was unfair trade practices, Trump has been always showing its dissatisfaction towards its trade relations with China. Now, if that is the thing, then which are the areas where India can reap benefits? Let's start with SME industries. Earlier speaker, Dr. Kamble, has already spoken about the stimulus package given. I would like to bring to your attention one important point is counter guarantee by the government itself is a great support to SMEs. Secondly, the basic changes in the institutionalization, the definition, conceptualization of SMEs itself is a major change, wherein we are bringing in lot many chunk of industries under this micro and small medium industries by changing their caps on capital. So the capacity building for the country will come through SMEs, and the stimulus package, not only by the finance minister, not only by the government of India, that is through the 20 crores of 20 lakh crores of rupees from the Prime Minister, which is again a very important thing. Earlier it was said that that is just 1%. That is 1% of our deficit, but that is 10% of GDP. We are the third largest economy to declare 10% package of GDP. See, the developed countries declaring 30%, 25% is very different, and a developing economy coming out with 10%, which is surely not to be demeaned, not to be considered as less one, but it's really a very venturesome step, and government has been doing it in order to facilitate liquidity for these people as such. The second one, we are estimating good monsoons and agriculture exports. If we can have, earlier speaker has already talked about which are the areas from agriculture sector where from we can send our exports more, we can increase our exports and all that. If that happens, just 1.5% increase in GDP in agriculture or the income in agriculture facilitates almost 3 times growth for the economy. If that equation, if we are considering, I'm sure the country will have no problem in lifting itself above. Dr. Shaktidas has already shown the RBI governor has shown his resilient leadership by declaring 2 times the wonderful packages and a number of the helps for the various sectors, including SMEs and all that. So the country's highest leadership in finance is able to understand, to cope up with and correct the situation through apt, accurate and timely measures, and the intervention which comes at suitable time definitely corrects the situation. So no person at the higher level has been late, according to me. Of course, we agree to differ on our points. Reduced oil prices, everyone has seen, because aviation industry is closed down, no industry is moving, the production of oil itself had been stopped. So obviously after the oil got restored. So now here India can take the advantage of having these reduced oil prices for better. Am I audible clearly? Because my internet is showing instability, unstable connection. Sumedha? Hello? Sumedha? Sumedha?
Yes, madam.
Audible na?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Because connection is unstable. That's why.
Yes, there was some problem in between, but now it is okay.
Okay. So next important point what I will like to bring to your notice is our solidarity, our leadership has already bought lot of laurels and goodwill. In fact, the great leaders all over the world have praised our Prime Minister when we had sent the medicines across the world's countries despite we facing the problem. So that goodwill of our pharma industry, if we can make use of in times to come. Yes, I'm well aware of this, that almost 30 to 40% of the imports are from China, and pharma industry does require almost 40% of it. Yet, if we can build up the stocks and definitely work on exports, I'm sure the country will have benefits. We will be proved to be a safe tourism destination for the world as a whole. That's because, yes, now some people say the curve is flattening. In Mumbai, where red zone, we are considering ourselves to be at the peak, and quite likely that community spread has already started. Yet, why not we be hopeful? Once the monsoon is over, probably by December, we will have things little bit settled in terms of corona at lower level and activity going on the right hand side of our V, so that we find that number of things, because we have already started unlock stage 1. Now, if that is the case, with our soft power, what Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe said the other day, that the type of entertaining ways we are following at India, the type of culture India enjoys, the type of the traditions we are having, and the type of name and fame what India is known for to the world, it's definitely possible that tourism industry will pick up after 2 years, definitely, which will not be so much advantageous for other countries as well. Then, coming to the next important point, EU's, as I discussed earlier, is having, European Union is having internal problems with 3 of its major countries going into the financial deficit again. There has been internal instability. So certain economies, if they can be joined with us, surely India can think in terms of changing its composition and trade direction as well. And last and not the least one, we are all listening to the government announcements, and we said Atmanirbhar, globalized dependent system. Every country in the world is going to think about indigenized, independent model of development, wherein we also will think in terms of self-reliance. Already there is a nara from local to, for local to be vocal, or we will say, let us be Swavalambi, let us be Atmanirbhar. If that is the case, then definitely India will be in a position. It has stopped. Yeah. India will be able to shine in the period of post-2021. Of course, no success comes without efforts, without hard work. And for that, there are a number of ifs. And what are these ifs? Yes, India needs to invest a lot of money into the investment. The greatest success of China is in terms of building up great architecture of infrastructure. In fact, China has been the partner for almost 80 countries where infrastructure has been raised by it. And if that is the case, again, this country's relationships with China becomes a question mark for every one of us. So, investment in infrastructure definitely propels growth. It goes without saying. There has been proven economic modeling in that, and therefore we need investment not only in capital-based industries, but in also social capital also. What is the social capital? So many types can be given, but education and health, these are the two very important areas where we need to have additional and hefty investment. Education, 6% is minimum required. Even now also we are not doing 4%. So it is need of the day that we enhance our investment in that. Health, it is just 1.5% of the GDP, which on an average at the world level is 5.8 to 6%. Even China is having 5.8%. World Bank says that it has to be more than 5%. If that is the case, then definitely India needs to think in terms of more investment in education. To be added to this, we need to create sufficient number of jobs. Many will ask the question, Madam, where is the question of growth? Where is the question of jobs? It's all unemployment, unemployment, unemployment. It is ruthless, and absolutely no growth. That is the picture I know. migration, unorganized labor, no jobs, people who had jobs were thrown out. Everything is true. But yes, Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, all these are the various schemes under which we have started number of programs. Yes, there was a stalemate for the time being for 6 months, but yes, we will have to think more in terms of national vocational framework for creating jobs and skill development also. We as country, we are looked at us as the biggest consumers market. Even we as students and people from education, we are the greatest consumers in terms of searching everything on net through Google. Maximum number of consumers for bandwidth and for this digital search is India ranking number 1. Why not we create our own bandwidth? Why not we create our own systems? Why not we convert ourselves into producers rather than becoming consumers? Why I say all these things? Because PwC had declared in 2017 that in times to come, E7, that is emerging economies, will take over the great big 7 economies, in which India will enjoy the second position. Setbacks like Corona are going to be there, but Corona is not going to live forever. We are going to live forever in India. And therefore, how the economy is to be built up is to be decided by us. That is why I said a selective, systematized strategy of designing our own policy framework of development is must, and that is possible if we really feel that is our willpower supported by this. So COVID has given us the setback, which is very temporary. It's short term, but realizing our own potential, we need to relook at to think that even this principle is true for us also in our individual life. We look before we live. So let's have a very live study of the relationships to come out with the caps of success. Every crisis is an opportunity. It is a lesson in itself. Corona has given us many lessons, and we learn from our experiences. We do not leave the experiences behind to take care in future. Therefore, if that is so, we should definitely use that wisdom of experiences to handle this and the future situation to come out to be a successful country. Thank you very much, every one of you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mandle and Sumedha, for giving me this opportunity to share with you all these points. Thank you very much.
Madam. Thank you, madam, for your thought-provoking, informative, insightful, and interactive session. There are some questions from our participants. With your permission, can I ask? I request Shailesh Borkar sir, please ask directly. We have enabled you. Shailesh Borkar sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You ask directly, ma'am.
Sure. I'll just repeat what I've written in the chat box. Now, according to Indian statistics released by the Central Statistical Organization, nearly 9 lakh children under the age of 5 die of starvation every year in India. Nearly 2 crore people are unemployed, and another 40 crores, almost, that is 39.37 crores actually, are employed in temporary jobs in unorganized sectors. Now, how does your rosy pink theory of the full glass apply to this situation? I mean, we are so occupied with this corona phase, which is actually temporary, no matter how long. But these long-standing issues are simply ignored So what Jan and what Jahan are we talking of? Isn't it only rhetoric? What is your take on this, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Very nice question, sir. Very realistic picture also you are telling me. But this has been the picture even in 90s, 2000, 2010. Have we not done in terms of reducing our poverty, sir? Had that not been packages to deal with inequalities? Yes, Corona has accentuated all these problems, and they are going to be there for a few more months, probably year or so, because it is a period of uncertainty. But why are we having direct cash transfer as one of the 6 packages points? Why are we giving the farmers directly 1,500 rupees? Why are we giving them distribution of certain amount of grains and all these things? Is it not we are considering them also? Even Subramaniam Swamy the other day when he was talking about, he said, let us not bother about deficit financing. If required, we should print the money also. And the government may consider that particular point. That's because our point number 1 is caring for the downtrodden, marginalized, and we do understand that unless these problems are solved, we are not going to handle the other economic issues so successfully. And therefore, it is not that government is not doing anything. We are worried about that. We are doing that. We means on behalf of all of us, whatever government we get and we deserve the government we choose for ourselves. So one gets what one deserves. And therefore, whatever we have, that they have been doing, whether at RBI level, whether at finance minister's level, or whether at the level of the government as such. So yes, there is going to be increased inequalities. There is going to be the problem of increased unemployment. There is going to be problem of inequalities. All these things will be even worsening. True. Yet, how we are able to change our fiscal policy to bring back that money by right now lesser tax, but afterwards taking more money from the people, those who have, probably this issue can be handled, because leaving no one behind, that's the sustainable development caption. And if we are with the sustainable development agenda 2030 with that, then I think we will have to consider the last person in the society, as Gandhiji said, to be considered even for development. And I think that has been taken care of. Everybody may not agree.
Thank you, ma'am. Shailesh sir, can you ask something? You want to ask anything else?
Not really, because I'm just worried because, ma'am, you've spoken very nicely on various issues and very eloquently. But what my point is, as you said, they directly transfer a certain amount to their accounts, fine. But what after that account gets over? It's okay for us when we know that a salary is waiting for us. But those crores and crores and crores who have nothing waiting for them, all these 20 lakh crores declared will really not carry any weightage at all. Because it's a registered fact that out of every rupee that the government sends down, less than 6 paise actually reaches the grassroots. So all this hullabaloo created about Corona, this is my personal opinion, is strongly to subdue all these long-standing issues of unemployment, of casteism and whatever. So many issues are there. So just to suppress all this is being created. So until and unless 2 things are done, one, controlling the population majorly, and secondly, generating the economy by, as you said, investing, and thirdly, by spreading education, nothing really will fall into place. I mean, just 1,000 or even a lakh of rupees put in will get over someday or the other. That's my opinion.
Let me just add one thing, sir. I spoke about from globalization to regionalization. We are talking in terms of trade and the relations and the development and all that. But let us not forget, as an individual, as a person of society, that the chain of humanity should not be broken while we are breaking the chain of globalization. Every individual is a part of society. Why not we ourselves come out? Are we as salary people sacrificing more than 1 day salary, which has come as a compulsory or mandatory cut? Beyond that, are we coming for? if we are talking in terms of, I think we have to first search for the solutions amongst us, within us, and then only possibly we will be able to help out. I think it's the question of humanity. It's the question, everything cannot be done by the government as such. For that, we should also come forth for sacrifices. Unless one community sacrifices, the other community will not have gain. And therefore, there has to be the policy, correct policy of transfer from affluent to the deficit areas or the people who are less privileged one. I have full empathy and I know, I understand the problems I have. In fact, I wrote very recently one article wherein I said, I ended my article with this, that on the one hand, we are trying to get out of that trap of globalized systems. On the other hand, we should see that the chain of humanity is not broken by us as an individual. That we need to take care of. So, Shailesh sir, your worry is the same. My heart also definitely beats for.
Can I just add one final point, ma'am? Can I take the liberty?
Yes.
Okay, and now, as you said, we should sacrifice from our end. You know that over the next 1.5 years, we will not be getting any extended DA. Now, when you count that, it comes to around 86,800 crore rupees. That means the government is officially taking away 86,800 crore rupees from the teachers. And whereas the loans that have been excused, like Malya and INC, these come to about 60,600 crores. How far is this policy justified? And even if we do sacrifice, where does it go? It goes to the rich, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sir, what you have been talking about scams,
on and on.
Scams has a long history, and that itself, Sumedha can keep another wonderful session on that, the bank scams and political and all that. But then, I will say, I will like to say that let's not go deep into that. But it has been the important point that yes, for the emergency situations, just as sir, there are so many countries wherein every citizen has to undergo military training in the interest of the nation. Is that rule followed in India? It's not. So I think where certain years of your life needs to be given to it, that's what the word is, that DA cannot be frozen. So we are not going to sacrifice that even. So the question is, where it gets utilized, we should have full liberty to ask, and it is not that let everything come from the government. Everyone also needs to understand this particular problem. And that is why, sir, in Mumbai, at least I find a lot of humanity works and community kitchens and so many things are going on where people have been doing a lot. I think that understanding itself is very, very essential. But your heartbeats are definitely are having that sympathy along with mine as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question means from our resource person, Kamble sir. Kamble sir, are you hear me? Kamble sir? Okay. Madam, can I ask his question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. If I can answer.
Yeah. His financial package, madam, listen. His financial package is the lowest in the required and more loan content. More than dozen agencies based on their research say packages is less or 1% of GDP. How you justify? Package has more loan component than direct assistance. Loans has less impact in revival. How analyze? MSMEs are in loan dues. They can not advantage of this package. Package is for loan recovery. How it will recover MSMEs respond?
Sir, we will have to wait for some time. We have to give, the child needs to be to grow, no? You cannot say that the child is born and immediately you will start because I have got it and therefore I will start rearing up and like that. Let's wait for 2 years, and within 2 years, possibly things will be better. After 21, if good infrastructure, possibly things would become definitely better. No one would be able to say definitely when and what will happen. That is uncertain.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I request Dr. Sumedha Naik, ma'am, to please take over.